he is. Let's move on. Michael Chandler is the one that everyone's also got eyes on. Like coming into this fight, you and me, we were always talking about Michael Chandler. We were saying he was a threat to the division.
We made that clear. We've made many videos about Michael Chandler is a threat to the UFC lightweight division,
and we've been backing on him for quite some time.
100%.
The hype is real.
We made actually before he even got signed by the UFC, we said sign him. Dana sign Michael Chandler because there was rumors that Michael Chandler was entering free agency after he beats Ben Henderson. Yeah. What's going to happen? Will the UFC scoop him up? And we were like, take Michael Chandler. He is incredibly good. And at his age, he's not getting any younger. No, he's in his prime period. So they need to take him now.
Yeah, and there was never a better time to grab him. There wasn't a better time to promote him as well. But also Dana's now got... He's the other thing. The lightweight division further proves itself why it is the most stacked division.
It is. It's full of killers. What did you call it? The Shark Tank. It is the Shark Tank.
Yeah. It's the fucking Shark Tank because, like, what is it? You can name the top 10 and you can set a card as the main event. Just say, okay, we just need the lightweight. Boom. Instantly it's becoming a classic because the lightweight division is just so... it's always changing, you know what I mean? It's a very active and all that, and it's got so much star power. And when you put Michael Chandler in it, it further solidifies why it is the greatest division. I honestly do believe that the lightweight division is probably the best division.
I would say it's the best division.
And here's the next thing I got to ask you now, Jack, because Michael Chandler's beaten Dan Hooker, so we can just talk about the fight. But does it mean that Michael Chandler's now 6th in the rankings, even though he would take his ranking, because he came in unranked. So Dan Hooker risked it all for an unranked opponent.
But that's the reason why he took it. He said, no one wanted to lose their ranking to an unranked opponent, and a lot of people. I think there was at least 2 or 3 people that turned it down. Right, they turned down that fight against Michael Chandler because they knew he was, he's a deadly opponent. He's a 3-time Bellator champion. You need to watch out about that.
NCAA professional wrestler as well.
Exactly, and the wrestling background and his striking is very high level. So it's difficult because if you don't look good, even if they win against Michael Chandler and they don't look good, it doesn't help them climb the rankings or anything like that. It was all upside for Michael Chandler, and not so much upside for Dan Hooker, but. That's not to say Michael Chandler didn't have a huge amount of stress on him. Yeah. He had an enormous amount of stress on him to perform. And now all the Bellator people are starting to tweet, "Hey, Bellator, Bellator's for real."
Yeah.
Who said Bellator fighters aren't any good? And he's kind of proved that because any fighter that were kind of did well in the UFC or half did well in the UFC and then gets released and goes to Bellator, sometimes they've ended up getting a belt. And that always made proved to be evidence that UFC fighters are much higher caliber than Bellator. But I think a lot of people were also banking on Michael Chandler to prove the Bellator fighters were actually worth something. They're actually worth watching and they were proper competitors in the MMA space. So Michael Chandler did incredibly well and in the first round too. I was expecting more wrestling. He was very calculated, and it was almost like Dan Hooker kind of froze a little bit. He looked a bit gun shy, to be honest. He was constantly moving. He was never really throwing a shot, and Chandler for the first, I think, minute and a half didn't throw a strike. Yeah, just fainting, getting distance. That was it.
Yeah, but here's the thing: there was a significant size difference between the two.
5'8" was Michael Chandler, 6 foot was Dan Hooker.
Yeah, and so the way that the way that Michael Chandler dealt with that was crazy. Like, he has such a strong left hand. He threw that wild left hand swing that cracked Dan Hooker and just dropped him down. He was like hitting all those strikes, and then we were just like screaming, and then we were like, no, fight's over.
Now, do you think Herb should have stopped that earlier? I think Herb should have stopped it earlier. I think he should have stopped it earlier.
Maybe. I might have to rewatch it again to get an opinion on that one. But I know that in the video we were like, nope, stop the fight. It's done. I kind of feel like knowing who Dan Hooker is, he's tough as fucking nails. Like, you can't get any tougher. I felt like Dean was just wanted him to give a benefit of a doubt if Dan was just trying to get back up, because what was happening was Michael was hitting him, but he had his head on the back of his neck. He wasn't hitting him like having his whole weight on him, which you see a lot. He was just holding one outstretched hand and hit him in the back of the head. And I thought that maybe Dan would try and find a way. If it was kind of hoping on Dan to sort of just give him the benefit of doubt to like make a quick move and get back up to your feet, or But yeah, it's late stoppage, perhaps. So there's a valid argument for it, but I think he stopped it right up. He couldn't really have done it any later than he did. Really, I'm pretty sure. I
felt like it was definitely over, and I think he probably should have been saved from a few shots, at least 2 or 3, because they were heavy shots. It's interesting that UFC 257 is kind of like, especially the co-main in the main event, it was certainly the day for underdogs. I mean, Conor gets broken down by the calf kicks, the left calf kicks, and that kind of broke down his leg, and then he gets rocked, and then further TKO'd by a lot of volume punches, and then Hooker gets KO'd very quickly against Michael Chandler. A lot of the betting favorites were Conor McGregor and Dan Hooker. Yeah.
Just it's such a it's very hard to process what's going to happen right now in the lightweight division. All we know is that it's furthest 2021 is off to perhaps a phenomenal start for the UFC.
Very wishy-washy for the lightweight. Yeah. You don't even know. I have no idea. I mean, in the next week we'll know what happens to the rankings, but it's so hard to to comprehend.
It's I'm happy about 2 things. 1, day for underdogs. Don't count out the underdogs. 2, the hype is real around Michael Chandler, because we know in the UFC they do not like to have people from other organizations feel like they're going to get a free ride. They threw Michael Chandler a killer, a savage, and he just rose to that challenge, and he called out Dustin Poirier, he called out Conor McGregor, and he called out Khabib. So he's got to get one of the 3. However, perhaps I feel like a more better opponent for Michael Chandler would be Justin Gaethje, because they have very similar styles. Both gritty, both brawling, both very, very high caliber wrestlers.
But the wrestling's different.
Yeah.
Michael Chandler is more of an offensive wrestler.
Yeah.
Which he uses a lot. Gaethje likes to stand and only uses his defensive wrestling so he can stay on his feet.
Yeah, because he's had 0 takedown attempts.
Yeah, he doesn't use it. He uses defensive wrestling, defensive grappling.
Yeah.
To stay on his feet, to have big slugfests.
Yeah.
I mean,